take a second and imagine that a man is the one running the world, and then maybe you go today, they say the man is asleep. Or you go tomorrow, the man is ill, and the person has a word in his or her hand. I mean, I know it's not meant to be taken literal, but sometimes we can just play these things in our mind in order not to accept everything that is thrown our way. Hello and welcome. This is Susan Uzono on Let It Be, and I have with me
Lysias and Susan. Welcome on board.
As usual, we would always ask you, where are you watching or listening to us from? We would love to know, how is the weather in that place? How are you doing? I asked someone, last week, and the person said, I'm doing well being in Nigeria, like it's a full-time job. That got me laughing. I hope you're making out time to also watch what we have for you and to learn above everything. So in case you're listening to this podcast for the first time, actually it is what you say it is, because we try to touch on areas where you can learn from, you can relate to it, as well as make sure that you have something to say in the comment section. I tell you, our goal is to hear from you and hear your own opinion about the things that we talk about. These are experiences that you can relate to it. I tell you've seen someone go through it too. So yeah, that is why we're here.
All right, so please comment, share, subscribe, and also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified anytime we are online and we have dropped a new video. But quickly, I want to be sure that you are excited about life. You also have something to live up to, something you are expecting, and I'm trusting that you will make it happen.
Okay, yes. I want to start with an advice on this podcast today. If you're thinking of getting married, go ahead, because there are a lot of things happening out there. Your own marriage may just be the one that would break the ice, as it were, or change the narrative. Lysias, there's a lot of things going out there. A lot of talks about why you shouldn't even get married, or in case you get married, how marriage is this, marriage is that. I believe that the naysayers are even more than those that are saying something great about marriage. So I felt that we could start on that ground, since we're going to be talking about who runs the world.
Truth be told, they say how you make your bed is how you lie on it. Mm-hmm. So you can't judge your marriage or your relationship based on another person's experience or what another person is going through. So depending on the kind of relationship you want, you have to put in extra effort. They say change begins with you. All right, so change does not begin with the other person, it begins with you. What you want to see in your marriage, what you want to see in your relationship is how you build your marriage or your relationship.
Yeah, what you want to see is how you build it. It's related to how you build it. So you see there's different perspective based on the choices that we make. I think that makes it a little bit easier to know that, my input is going to decide the result I get.
Yeah, the results you get. I know that some people will look at it and say, but I'm putting so much in this relationship and I'm getting a little. You need to understand you are feeling that way because there is a yardstick, there is a measuring bar that you are using to measure the success of your relationship. And oftentimes, all of this stems from watching at how other people's relationship is and expecting that yours should be like that. Every relationship is unique in its own way. So you have to also sit down and look at your relationship, what is going on, what can be mended, and then understanding the personality and the distinct individuality of the person you are dealing with.
Yeah, very important. There's a lot of wisdom that goes into it. I believe strongly that, just like, molding a clay. Yeah. It can really turn out to be something great.
Of course.
Amazing. So something just came into my mind, and it was some of the belief system that were not written but were acted upon by my mother to ensure that she stays in marriage. Truth be told, some of us are here today because our parents adopted some principles that are not written down in any marriage book, but they adopted it, and it was workable, and then it produced results. So with the increase in knowledge, I won't put knowledge in quotes, and everybody's saying this and saying that, or this is how marriages should be. I believe that there are things that we will not take now that our parents, and I use my mother as an example, took, and it turned out right. I'm going to be talking about that later on. But the next thing I want us to talk about here is the fact that let's just take a deeper look at this thing called marriage, not just from the books and what everybody's saying, but from our own physical and personal experience, as it were. I believe that beyond procreation, this marriage thing is more of something that needs cohesion and cooperation. Looking at this, and I'm saying this on the grounds that I know that our not so woke parents, mothers, had to, imbibe this cooperation. We saw them, trying to make sure that they are adding, trying to ensure that, they keep their children, trying not to put down the man, and they adopted all these means, and the marriage worked. I don't know, because a lot of issues are coming up from this marriage thing that people have either turned a blind eye, or people are not doing enough. I believe that people are not turning a blind eye. I'm richer, espousing I'm richer than this person, I'm more hardworking, a man should not do this, a man should not do that. So many issues, and that's why we're talking about it on Let It Be.
Yes, I think that the issues in marriage generally stems from how the marriage started. That's one. Secondly, on the people, in the spouse, the people concerned in the marriage talk to. That's on another hand. Now, when you get married, the first thing you must sincerely require from any marriage, apart from procreation, support, or anything, is the need for companionship. To have companion means you have someone you talk to, you have someone you run to when you are in need, you have someone that understands you when you are emotionally down. That's what companion actually means. That's what it should be. Now, it is after that, when you are in marriage, you're coming into marriage because there are certain things you want to achieve together. There is where you want to get to together. Now, marriage itself should be also based on selflessness. You're not talking about, okay, I'm the one doing this. The other person is not doing that. That is where the whole issue and problems start creeping in as far as marriage is concerned. Now, in our traditional society, marriage is supposed to be where the man fends for the home. The man goes out, does all the work just for him to bring in the required food, pay the bills, and every other thing. And then the woman's role traditionally was to keep the home. Ensure that the children are well taken care of, they are fed, and all of that. But you see, in our contemporary time now, there is what I would call a mix-up of all of those responsibilities. You understand? Men go as far as taking care of the children, bathing, keeping the house, you understand? And some also go to work to ensure that they put food on the table, they pay the bills, and all of that. But the challenge now comes when it looks as if the woman is also supporting, and then the woman starts listening to people outside. Where someone outside say, if it's me, I will not do this. You must decide how you want your home to be.
All right.
If you go out and somebody is saying, in my home, my husband does the dishes, cooks, does that. If it's not applicable in your home, you've tried it and it's not working, please drop it. You just have to drop it. It's not working in your home. So marriage is supposed to be an understanding thing between these two partners. Avoid third party. So that's where the challenge comes in from.
Okay. I also feel that sometimes you really don't just go out and say you want to have these conversations. Sometimes there are videos, there are songs and everything that just make this thing come to your face even when you're not prepared for it. I mean, when you every time you hear about marriage, you say, no, the roles should be these, the roles should be that, and it should not be intertwined, as it were. But what was trying to also emphasize here is that get to understand the type of marriage you're in. Get to understand the type. And when I say type of marriage, I mean that there are marriages that really start from almost nothing.
Yes.
And they grow into something.
And they grow into something.
Maybe you're hearing it for the first time, but yeah, there are marriages that start like that. There are also marriages that start from everything and grow into something bigger. And there are marriages that starts from everything and
break up.
And degenerates into nothing. So you see, but by all means, the first thing, just as Lysias has said, the companionship is very important. Are we compatible? And not just saying, oh, does he have money? Am I compatible with his pockets?
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about. But our reasoning, like, well, where are we headed? Very, very important, in the church of man. Remember, we're talking about who runs the world, and our emphasis is on the power tussle, that tussle between men and women. I believe strongly we're just lending our voice to ensure that we actually said something. So it will be written down. This is our own opinion. I believe strongly that it's the opinion of other people out there, because we've had time to also relate with other people and see that you must understand the nature of your family. And as much as there are advices, make sure it's workable advice.
Yeah.
Some advices will help you later on, but at this time you go write it down and put it somewhere. It may be something that you have to relate to, you have to turn to later on. Very, very key. Very, very key, because this whole issue of who runs the world. Oh, okay, I'm a woman, I'm this and I'm that. This thing about who runs the world. Every time I say it, like, it's just it doesn't really resonate with me. I don't think I have the grace to understand that question.
The thing is that first and foremost, you have to be in agreement of the supernatural force that brought the world into being. So that will be the first point of who runs the world. But then we're talking about who runs the world in terms of our earthly existence. Not earthly existence, but our earthly interactions with the world and with the people around us.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're talking about who runs the world in terms of that, no one actually runs the world. Yes, because it's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, yes. It is a collaborative effort. I mean, imagine a world with only men.
Of course.
Take a second and imagine a world with only women. Just imagine. Or I mean, we just can emphasize, and I believe that that particular slogan is really targeted at who rules the world, and maybe power.
We all play a part.
Or empowerment. But what we're saying today, that is just something that I cannot relate with, as it were, because everybody has a role to play, and it's look at. I mean, just take a second. I know we all dance to that particular song, but just take a second and imagine that a man is the one running the world, and then maybe you go to the man is asleep. Or you go to where your man is ill and the person has a word in his or her hand. I mean, I know it's not meant to be taken literal, but sometimes we can just play these things in our mind in order not to accept everything that is thrown our way. I believe that if women want to be encouraged to do well, then they don't need to compare themselves with the male folks. I believe strongly that there's no need for that comparison, regardless of what you're going through. And that brings me to a place where, especially in Africa, where we realize, do you know that there are customs and tradition that existed before and even till now that literally, as for one of the right word, invalidates the first child, female, from taking up any form of leadership position, like for being, a voice in any decision making. Some go to that extra mile. It looks like the first child, the female child, who is the first child. It looks like okay, yeah, you are just number one, and then you have a younger brother. It may not even be your immediate brother, but there's a brother, and then he's told that, brought up and regarded as the leader and the head. I don't know if you can relate with this.
Yes, the truth is that that is a tradition of the world in itself. Because when it gets to
the Africa of the world.
Yes, let me just say in Africa. Let me exclude the world. The reason is this: because when it comes to meeting, or gathering where decisions pertaining or relating to the larger community is taken, oftentimes it's the men that come out.
Okay.
And the reason why that is because even biblically, I think even in the Bible, men are portrayed as the decision makers. Men are portrayed as the ones who take the lead. Now, suffice that to say, it doesn't mean that the female child is of no consequences. No, that's not what it means. It means that there are positions of rulership. It's just like a father is in the house now and has a son, and then they're calling for a community meeting, and then except the child has grown to a certain age that the father can say, look, I won't be able to attend this meeting, you go and stand in for me. And a father can also delegate his daughter to go and stand in for him. But all of that depends on the significance and the importance of the meeting itself.
All right.
So traditionally, men are regarded, even in our civil society, men are regarded, the boy child, the male child is regarded as the leader in every aspect of life. You understand?
All
but
right.
it doesn't mean that the female are not equally important. No, that's not what it means.
Yeah. I believe that over time we should be able to not mix issues.
Of course, yes.
To understand something, take it, look at it as it stands on its own, and then look at another thing as it stands on its own. Just as you said, it is a tradition, but it never really negates the fact that the first daughter is also a child.
Yes.
She may have her own responsibilities, but when it comes to representation, as it were, that then the male child is the one that burden falls on. And you will agree with me that some male children that have had to be given that responsibility have really carried it out properly. And in situations where some people don't even have male children, the female children have also acted in that capacity.
Yes.
So our emphasis, however, is not the women don't run the world. It, just as you said, it's a collaboration. I like that particular word that you use. It's a collaboration. All right, so we've looked at tradition and custom, and even politically, I believe that this whole collaboration thing can also be seen, depending on the type of government that that particular nation practices.
Yeah.
We've had Queen Elizabeth, the second, and we've seen her rule for like 70 years.
Yeah.
And nobody screamed. That was the monarchy type of government. And then we've also seen leadership in other part of the world where they're practicing democracy, and then you see the men also ruling. So I believe, and even in Africa, we've seen female presidents.
Yeah.
Ellen
Sirleaf Johnson.
Yes, exactly, of Liberia. So we've seen these things happen, and I believe strongly that it's just a matter of you have something to offer. But I also know that the world is also making room for the people that have things to offer more now.
Yes,
it's
of
no
course.
longer.
It's no longer about gender.
Yeah, about gender.
For me, I feel that that's my own opinion here.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I stand to be corrected. I feel that when I'm in a gathering and either the male or the female gender starts saying, I can do this better than you. I feel that it's just on a personal level in terms of your expertise. Now you could find a woman that is very, very skilled in what she is doing.
Yeah, we have them.
She
in
can
Nigeria.
brag, she can tell herself, she can tell her colleague, I can do this better than you. That is on an intellectual level.
Yeah.
That can happen on both sides. But when you push an agenda such that you want to lean on one side as being better than on the other side, then you are wrong. I feel that is where you're making a mistake. Even in a class, there's a class where you find the females doing much more better academically than the men. Does it mean that they are going to succeed in life? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So let's learn to disabuse ourselves from feeling that, okay, because a certain gender can do this better, it means that they are better than the other gender. I feel that is totally wrong.
I know that there's a rise in so many, groups and activist things that just to let us feel that, okay, the world belongs to this gender and that gender. I take a stand, and that's the fact that I'm just being neutral, because you can't get me. You're trying to promote the feminism, whatever it's called, and then most of them are still married.
Of course,
it's
yes,
not adding
it's
up.
very contradictory.
It's not adding
Very
up to me. So,
contradictory.
and that's why I try not to just engage with all this. But on Let It Be, we're talking about the fact that it's a collaboration.
Yes.
No, nobody really runs the world. I tell you, right from how God made Adam and Eve, nobody runs the world. We're doing this thing together. There are things yet. I know that there's a belief that what a man can do, a woman can do, but I don't find myself in. I just try to do what a woman can do, and that's all. I just try to, not just talk, but just to act it out.
That adage that says what a man can do, a woman can do better, I feel that is too conclusive and subjective. Because yes, I know that in some certain fields, all right, you find men mixed with women, and then there is something that the ladies can do better than the men, all right? That doesn't mean that in every aspect of life, what a man can do, a woman can do much better. No. I feel that's too subjective. Let us understand the uniqueness of every gender. God created them in pairs. Why did He create them in pairs? To complement each other. Why did He create them in pairs? For them to understand that there are some things I can do better than you. There are things you can do better than myself. Not for us to look at it and say, okay, in terms of pain bearing, a woman can bear pain much more than a man. In some certain aspects, yes. But we all know that there are things that men do better than women, and there are things that women do better than men. That is how it is. It is not conclusive that women do better than men in all things. So please, let's live with this distinction in mind, so we don't foster a society where people begin to feel, or a certain gender begins to feel being pushed to the wall because they feel that they are women. Not necessarily. There are women that are in the armed forces that can even fight better than some men. But does that mean that they can fight more than all the men? No,
it's just subjective.
It's just subjective.
Just as you've said, rightly pointed out, it's important that we just carry on and promote, cohesion and peaceful coexistence.
Yes.
Let everything we do be targeted at something. Let it, be a drive towards a result rather than to cause anarchy and chaos. I always feel that the world is already hot enough, and it doesn't need you to put more fire in it.
Yeah.
We're not saying don't fight for your rights. We're not saying don't speak out. We're not saying all that. We're not a bunch of activists here, and neither do we intend to instill any form of a reaction of both of either party to say, oh yeah, I'm this and that, I'm a male, I'm this. That's not the point. The point is that together we just do this thing together, and then we just let it be. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it's just bringing my mind to some of the things that worked for my mother. I mentioned it earlier, and one thing that stood out was the fact that she had this great belief in her husband. She just had this belief that it was going to turn out well, and that bad days don't last long. They started off as everything being comfortable, and then all of a sudden things went sour. And but when things were comfortable, the man was there for his wife and his children. And then when things really got tough, he couldn't meet up. And then that was when people stepped in to start saying that, oh, okay, he's like this, is all that. Why create a picture from a situation that wasn't like that? It's always good for us to look back. Another thing I saw her do was that she was going to add to her children. She felt that beyond her husband, she was also there to make sure that her children had the best. So she was going to do that. She wasn't going to just while she's trusting that the man was going to get up, she was going to keep going. Okay, another thing that she would never do is to openly, just talk down on the man in front of all of us. And she would always say that it's best for both to be around. There were things that she would say, I would tell your father, that would literally put us in check. If it was just her, we would have taken those things for granted. And then will I forget to talk about, the fact that the man also made it possible for her to continue to pursue after God. He had, because she did all these things, he could see that the love was there. So he made that room for her, not just after God, also to pursue. You see, whatever you give, you take. Even in marriages, you may be married to the worst person in the world, but by all means, with the help of God, if you give in the best will come. No, God's not that wicked. Best will eventually come. This way, some of the things that she did, she showed that, and over time, the situation in the marriage gave the man room to believe in her judgment, because it looked like, okay, God just said, oh yeah, woman acts, and then the woman was acting and having results, and it brought him to a point where he would run things by her and believe in the things because he had seen. I believe strongly that she had opportunity to play her own role. The marriage created that opportunity, and it just worked smoothly. I don't know if you have any experience that you feel that really worked, that maybe in this time people will frown at and say, no, how can this be?
Like my own experience, when I look back at the life of my mother, very hardworking woman, very patient woman, very resilient. There were a lot of things that my mom did, like when my dad had to go back to school to pursue his postgraduate and his doctorate degree. My mom literally had to stay home, had to go and get a shop in the market, had to sell food stuff and the rest, just to give him that support that he needed.
Okay.
That support that he needed. And there were a lot of things that my mom embodied, which was, my mom was very, 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 very firm. She was very firm. That, those days, she could look at you in a certain way and you know that this is what mom is saying.
Our African mother, shout out.
My God. You will understand this is what she's saying.
Yeah.
There's a look she will give you, she means that you should stay quiet. There's a look she gives you, she means that you should just get up and leave that place. There's a look she gives you, you just understand.
Yeah.
Yes, you understand. So she was an embodiment of so much discipline that we know what we would do to earn her wrath. We know what we could do to earn her praises. We just knew, and because we knew, we could always be in her good books. Not all the time, though. As children, there are times that we were always in her bad books.
And it made the marriage work.
And it made the marriage work. My mom had, I can't remember any time she had an open disagreement with my father. I can't remember any time. I can't remember when my mom would look at some certain things and tell my father to his face, you were supposed to do this. I can't remember. I'm sure that they will have their own disagreements in their room and iron out things, but it never got to our ears.
The love and the respect
was always there.
It was always there.
Yes.
It was always there. Let us know your opinion about who runs the world and the increase in power also. Do you think it should continue? Do you think it's necessary? What's your opinion? Do you think it's very important in our society? If you feel it's important, then let's know the reasons. We're not here to put anybody down. But do you agree with the fact that men, women, male, female, we're here and we really need each other, especially looking at the society and the globe at large? That's why God created us in the first place. It was important then, it still is. It still is important now. Let's know your opinion. That's why we're here. And let it be, we will really, really care about what you have to say. And as I would always say, you never can tell who is watching and reading carefully. There is a lot of information that can just be passed via your personal experience. So your opinion counts, yes, on Let It Be.
All right. So please, if you have not subscribed, do well to do that. Also follow us on our various social media handles, and also please hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified anytime we drop any new video. And also share your own experiences and your comments also. That will help us to build better.
Exactly. That will help us to build and make the world a more better place for all of us to live in. Remember, there are people that have gone before us that made it, and there are people that are coming after us. So let's do our own part now that we have the time to do our own part. Well, this is all we have for you today on Let It Be podcast with Susan Uzono.
And I'm Lysias and Susan. Thank you for watching. And thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye bye.